Good Omens, The Nice and Accurate Prophecies of Agnes Nutter Witch is a novel published in 1990 and written by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. Pratchett was a British writer born in 1948 and he died in 2015 due to Alzheimer. Known for its humorous fantasy novels such as the Disco World book series, he was appointed Officer of the Order of the British Empire, and he received the Knight Bachelor for its services to literature. Gaiman is an English author of novels, comic books, articles, and screenplays. Born in 1960, he worked for DC Comics, for which he also wrote the comic book series The Sandman. In addition, he wrote fables and short stories, and he won many awards, like the Hugo Award for Best Novel for American Gods and for Best Novella for Coraline. Good Omens is a humorous apocalyptic novel set in London and in a little town of Tadfield in the 90s. According to the divine plan, the apocalypse is imminent, but an angel and a demon who got used to the earthly life and are fond of humans are doing everything to stop it. Crowley is entrusted with the task of leaving the Antichrist, the son of Satan, on Earth, as he's the one who will start the apocalypse right after his 11th birthday. But Crowley forms an alliance with the angel Aziraphale to give a balanced upbringing to the Antichrist and prevent the worst. In fact, they have known each other since the events of the Garden of Eden. In spite of their nature and the fact that they belong to opposite factions, over the millennia they have developed a friendship and have helped each other. 11 years later, they realize that the Antichrist was wrongly switched with someone else, so they start looking for the real one, Adam. Adam is a normal 11-year-old boy that loves playing with his friends called the Them, Pepper, Wenzel, and Brian. After his birthday, he meets Cerberus that becomes his little dog. Then he begins to understand things that were unknown to him and starts changing. Peculiar events occur along with the arrival of the four horsemen of the apocalypse: war, famine, pollution, and death. Meanwhile, Anathema Device, a young witch, is also trying to help, guided by the nice and accurate prophecies of Agnes Nutter Witch, the only book of real prophecies. As a descendant of Agnes Nutter, her task is to decipher and use them to change events like this one. On the other side, there is Newt Pulsifer, descendant of Witchfinders, recruited by the so-called Witchfinder army, that now it actually includes only Sergeant Chadwell, a stubborn sort of crazy old man. Each one of these characters will contribute in some way to something bigger than them. The book has recently been adapted in a 6-episode short series. The two leads are David Tennant, that plays Crowley, and Michael Sheen as Aziraphale. The series was released at the end of May 2019, and it's quite true to its literary work. This is also thanks to the fact that Gaiman himself wrote the script. It's set in this day and age, and it's mainly focused on Crowley and Aziraphale, as proven by the part in which we can see more in depth the evolution of their relationship over the centuries. We can notice that it has been given more space to heaven and hell, and more precisely to the angel and the demon's bosses. The angel Gabriel has been added, while in the book he is only mentioned, and he checks on and torments Aziraphale. There is an external narrator that in the series is translated into God, with the narrating voice of a woman. Overall, the plot is the same, just like the beginning and the end, with something more and something less. The characters are well defined, and they keep the core and characteristics of those in the book. The novel is parodistic, ironic, and desecrating, and it contains erudite references, for instance, to the Bible and to pop culture. Although it was written 30 years ago, it's modern and it outlines themes that are still important. The first one is free will in contrast to destiny. Adam is the main example, as he rejects his Antichrist role by deciding not to follow this imposed fate, but to create his own destiny and to act according to his own will, also symbolized by the apple he picks at the end. Thus, he is human incarnated. The same is true for Anathema, who decides not to be tied to the past and to prophecies that dictate her life as well as everyone else's. Another significant theme is good and evil. During the story, we understand how these two notions are not limited, but are very nuanced. They should be respectively represented by Aziraphale and Crowley. But that's not the case. Even though Aziraphale is good, he hasn't always followed the rules, and he has caused different inconveniences. Crowley, on the other hand, has constantly caused trouble to humans, yet, as he says, not as terrible as what they cause themselves. In addition, there is the theme of the opposition between two opposing factions against joining forces towards a greater good. Both hell and heaven want the apocalypse, hence war, regardless of the fate of the human race. They each think they're right and that they will win and rule a new world in the end. On the contrary, the two protagonists don't want this war and they don't understand the point in doing it. So they don't take sides except from their own and mankind's. They should be enemies, but they have common ideals and they put aside their differences for a greater purpose. Friendship and bonding are another important theme. First of all, the genuine friendship between the them. In fact, Adam chooses them at the end. The bond between Anathema and Newt is also essential. Two opposite people that end up uniting. Then the strong chemistry between Shadwell and Madame Tracy at first denied by him. Lastly, the deepest bond and the most complex dynamic are between Crowley and Aziraphale, that often push each other away, yet every time they realize they need each other. The whole narrative arc is full of metaphors and allegories, further mention to the four horsemen that are mirrored by each member of the Them, who fights the foe towards the end, War with Pepper, Wensleydale with famine, and Brian with pollution that replaces pestilence. Even the objects of the horsemen are symbolic, War as a sword that represents destruction, famine as a scale, hence the uneven distribution of resources, and pollution as a crown, symbolizing that it's making more and more its way in the world. I found rather enjoyable and interesting both the book and the TV series. We can certainly describe them, among other things, funny, but that doesn't mean they don't make you think. It's actually the contrary. In fact, I believe that this fictional apocalyptic story is an analysis of human beings and their humanity, as well as society. Some references may not be clear at first, but I suggest you to dwell on some other noteworthy parts. Obviously, there can't be everything in this series. However, I appreciated various additions. For example, I was impressed with a scene that wasn't in the book, where during the crucifixion of Jesus, Crowley asks Aziraphale what he had done or said that was so bad, and the angel answers, "Be kind to one another." Every main character has a story and closure, although not definitive. So everything begins with the sentence that Crowley says when the two of them meet for the first time and he wonders, "It'd be funny if we both got it wrong, eh? If I did the good thing and you did the bad one." There it is, the story of an incompetent angel and demon in doing their job as they define themselves, and of a kid who only wants to be free to choose who he can be.